3A, this is a game I don't think anybody, when the playoffs predicted, and then in week 1, I don't want to keep going back to the Connor Casser injury, but it's amazing that the best player perhaps in school history goes out. A lot of people think their season's done, and they've been able to rally and beat Eastbrook, #1 Eastbrook, at Eastbrook last week. And not only that, they've been doing it by scoring a lot of points, 35 against Heritage and 49 against Eastbrook, without that 4,000-yard rusher.
Oh, it's unbelievable what Leo has done. It really is a great coaching job. How do you not give kudos to that coaching staff for not only coming up with a game plan and getting different guys involved to contribute, but the morale that you have to get those kids to believe in themselves. I mean, just an unbelievable job. You know, you have to listen to Notre Dame and Ball State's coaches talk about, well, we have so many injuries. Nobody had an injury like Connor Casser as far as impact on their team. But Leo's coaching staff has just done a magnificent job, and they've got different guys making plays now. They got quarterback Ryan Leiter, they got wide receiver Gage Corner, they got running back Kyle Marzak, who also contributes on special teams, had a 90-yard kickoff return against Eastbrook. So Leo has just done a magnificent job. And, you know, you want to say that, no, Leo can't do it again against the defending state champion, West Lafayette, but, you know, they just knocked off the #1 team in the state at their place. They can do it.
When you take a look at what they've been able to do offensively, it's like you said, they've had different guys step up since Connor's been out. Taylor Horn, 4 first-half touchdowns against Heritage last week. Gage Corner, receiver, 4 receiving touchdowns. And I think Mr. Leiter is one of those quarterbacks where, because Andrew Such, who was supposed to be their starting quarterback, had a baseball injury, out all season. So you're not only are you have your starting running back out, you have the guy that was supposed to be starting at quarterback out. He's been fantastic with the arm, and we didn't know what to expect, but he's been great, especially here in the last few weeks.
It shows you how important those JV football games are in getting kids minutes, and when you have a blowout, getting a younger kid in there and getting some experience, because depth is the difference between really good teams and mediocre teams. They have guys that can step in and make the plays when they're called upon. This is going to be a really challenging week for Leo. West Lafayette has a really balanced offense. In fact, they're 2 very similar teams. They both can pass the ball really well. They both can run the ball really well. The difference is Eastbrook turned the ball over 4 times to Leo last week. West Lafayette is not going to turn the ball over 4 times. I can guarantee you that. However, when they do have a turnover or a penalty or a problem that they commit, Leo has to be ready to take advantage of that. If Leo can get a couple of turnovers and do what they did last week, then they've got a chance.
All right, should be interesting up in the Lions' Den this week. Moving on to 2A, Lures at Tipton, and I try not to laugh,
please,
to disrespect the folks at Tipton, but Lures is an absolute juggernaut in the playoffs. Only scored 49 points last week in the sectional final, a road game at Madison Grant, but they're averaging over 60 points a game here in the playoffs.
Well, if you talk to Bishop Lures' coaching staff, they do all the right things. They prepare as if Tipton is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they get their kids ready, and they're working them hard all week, and they're doing everything they need to do because they understand. The coaches understand on any given night something can happen, but there's no reason why Bishop Lures shouldn't run roughshod over the Blue Devils. Tipton gives up 23 points a game, and they're playing teams over in central Indiana, which they're not the SAC. So if they're giving up 23 to Western and Northwestern, good God, what is Lures going to do to them? And so this is going to be over by early third quarter. And again, for the 3rd week in a row, I think I'm going to say, get the younger kids some experience and keep everybody healthy. And let's look forward to next week's semi-state matchup with undefeated Rensselaer Central, who is ranked #1 in 2A at the end of the regular season, because once Bishop Lures lost to Dwenger, the voters in their idiocy moved Lures down and put Rensselaer #1. So maybe that's a little bit of motivating factor for the Knights that, hey, they're not actually ranked #1. Rensselaer is.
I thought that was odd because you lose to Dwenger, the #2 team in 4A, and you move down. I mean, I understand you lose, you move down, but really? Is there somebody better in 2? Really? Is there somebody better in 2A?
Not if you're rational, you don't move them down.
The great thing I think about Lures here in the playoffs is they've really been able to give a lot of different players the football. We've seen D'Angelo Fincher have big games the past couple of weeks, and he's kind of, like Cam Smith, as we were talking with Dwanger, one of those unsung guys that maybe gets lost week in and week out. The Nick Chapels, those kind of guys that would be starters and stars on every other team. Those guys are really getting the football. Not only is Kenny Mullen taking punts back for touchdowns, they've just got so many guys in the works at this point that it's going to be tough for any 2A team to stop them.
Well, I did a story on area quarterbacks last week, and I interviewed Chris Schwarzkopf, and he was talking about what James Kanafke does is he has so many different guys, and somehow he finds a way to get all of them the ball. And that is Luers' strength, is their versatility and the number of guys they have. And just think about this. Kenny Mullen is a Big Ten football player. He's going to IU, and he has missed considerable time over the last couple seasons with injuries here and there. Not missed weeks and stuff, but he's missed games and missed possessions and things like that. And Luers doesn't skip a beat. They just keep on winning. So they lose a Big Ten football player, and they still find a way to get the ball to their other 9 guys, their other Division I recruits that can help them.
Yeah, they're pretty. I just can't imagine another team in 2A being as stacked as they are.
Well, Rensselaer's ranked number 1, so Bishop Luers kids, you're not the best. Rensselaer's the best. So there you go. How about that for some bulletin board material?
There you go, AP.
By the way, I can't wait to watch Bishop Luers beat Rensselaer by about 30.
It'll be interesting. Yeah. It'll be interesting. 1A, Churubusco, what an amazing comeback down in Bern this past weekend to beat South Adams, your original choice to win the sectional, but then you flipped it and you went with Busco, and then it looked like you were going to be wrong in the first half, and then Busco came back and win it. Heart of a champion from the Fighting Etzlers, I guess, this past week from Busco.
Yeah, I think a little bit of it is I'm just afraid to pick against Lee Etzler. He's really big. He's intimidating.
The flat top, very militaristic.
Yes, he's got the Marine drill sergeant look, and I'm really a little bit leery about that. Having said that, I got to go out there this week and cover him, so hopefully they win and he'll be in a good mood. But I tell you, I like Hagerstown from the standpoint that my grandmother lives there, and half the town is related to me. However, I'm picking Busco to win this game. Both are very good teams. Obviously, Hagerstown's undefeated, and so Busco's going to have their hands full. But Hagerstown has that long trip up here. I tell you a key, though, Busco has fallen behind in games this year and then always found a way to rally back, and they did it against South Adams. Mm-hmm. If you dig yourself a 21-7, 21-6 hole against Hagerstown like you did to South Adams, you're going to be in trouble. So they have to come ready to play right from the get-go, right from the opening kickoff. And they have to have Mathewson and Monk and Lane Falk and Jordan Turner, all those guys ready to go right from the start.
As far as Churubusco goes, what are they going to need to do offensively? I mean, you mentioned Mathewson, you mentioned Monk, but it seems like Lefevre and getting some of those other guys in the mix where they can't just key on that running game is going to be critical against a team that's had as much success as Hagerstown's had.
Well, Hagerstown does score a lot. They score 38 points a game, but Busco scores more. They average 40 a game. And yes, you're right. They have to get versatile and spread that ball around to different guys, because if you just shut Mathewson down, which South Adams did at times last week, you need other guys to step up, and that's exactly why Josh Lefevre led them in rushing last week, is because if you're going to take Mathewson out, fine, we're going to go with a different route. And so that's what they did, and it worked last week.
The family's going to have some interesting stories to tell at the Davis Thanksgiving family table.
That's right.
When they talk about the old game in Turtletown, because I think Hagerstown comes in 12-0. I think they're going to leave 12-1.
I think they will, too. I think Churubusco gets it done on this one. And another key factor is Hagerstown can't go to Welliver's for that pregame meal because Welliver's is no longer open. And so, it's just a bad year for Hagerstown this year. The season's going to end. Welliver's closed. It's just bad.
Perhaps they can grab a Magic Wand burger.
There you go.
On the way back out of town to soothe their sorrows.
All right.
All right, so it should be a very interesting week. Of course, we'll be back next Monday to talk about semi-state. But for now, he's Tom Davis, I'm Glenn Marini, and we'll see you next week.